everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to this quick course on using custom properties in N-Central. My name is Mark. I'm going to be your trainer today. So what we are going to do is get started with the usual little welcome from our legal team. They just wanted to say hi, and this is done. This is amazing. My name is Mark. I am the manager of the head nurse. This should probably be updated. It's okay. My role consists of helping partners just like you guys with pretty much everything I can to make your life easier as an MSP. This course I wrote a couple months ago based on requests I got during Empower last time. I presented something somewhat similar to Empower. There was a lot of good feedback. People said they wanted more, so I said, well, why not? So I wrote this course for that reason. So what we are going to do is, this is a pretty quick course. It's only an hour long. I did it this morning. It took about 50 minutes plus questions. And right now we have a pretty small group on this afternoon. So please make sure you ask questions. Otherwise it might go a little quick, but that's completely fine for me. What we are going to do is I want to talk a little bit about what are custom properties, why you should use them, how do you use them, create them, view them, how do you link them within filters. And then the use cases for them are pretty wide and broad. But long story short, we're going to focus on how to store important data like BitLocker keys, how to do a filter to apply service levels or patch levels, and how do you do use custom property with device level property to improve your flexibility when you configure. So I'll show you that. Then we are working on a mechanism to import export custom properties in bulk. So I'm going to show you guys that, get your feedback as well, and demo that. And we're going to go through a few gotchas, and that will be pretty much the extent of our time. Couple housekeeping items. If you don't know me yet, I am French Canadian, and I tend to speak a bit fast. If I do speak too fast, or if you want me to repeat or slow down or whatever, don't worry, I won't take offense. I have one of my other screens here on which I can see the questions pane. So if you use the questions pane and ask me questions, I will see them. So feel free to ask me anything you need. Or if you just want to tell me to slow down or say hi or whatever, that's all completely fine. I can see that. So with that, let's start right away into why would you care about custom properties? And it's a question I get all the time when I talk to people about custom properties and the power of them. People go like, yeah, why would I really care? And I've had partners at events and more specifically at Empower recently, actually, where partners came to me and said, you know what, like custom properties have been a complete game changer for me and my company in how we do business and how we use the tool. So it became incredibly useful and important for them. So they said, look, this is absolutely critical for us. They also open a lot of new workflows. There's a lot of things that you can do with custom properties that there's no real other easy way to do in the product. So this really makes your life easier if you can use them. It also adds a ton of flexibility by allowing you to use any kind of field you want for filtering, for automation, for data entry, whatever. And it really gives you a lot of flexibility in that regard. It also lets you map your service levels to your devices and customers. So what this lets you do is I can say, I'm going to map my bronze, gold, silver plan to those customers and devices and automatically apply monitoring, automation, self-healing, things like that. And all of this can be automated through custom properties. So that makes it super easy. It's also fields that you can use to pull and store information from automation. So I'll show you that as well today. It is also fields that you can use to store important data points like BitLocker keys, install keys, software keys, things like that. And also can be used to set up at customer or site level or at device level, giving you a ton of flexibility. All right, having said all that, I'm pretty much done with the PowerPoint. We're going to start going through how custom properties work and the different kind of properties and so on. So let me figure out where my N-Central went. There it is. And what we're going to do is start from here. So there's two types of custom properties. If we start right from the beginning, we have a customer level property and a device level property. The reason that we have both is that you can have a property like an install key or a feature flag on off, things like that you would set up by customer or site. And you can also have properties like BitLocker keys and other data points that you would do at the device level. Within each, you have the same types. You have the dates type. I barely ever use that one, except for maybe like storing maintenance dates and stuff, but it's good to have. I do use the text type a lot for storing, again, my BitLocker keys, my install keys, things like that all the time. URL time I pretty much don't use. It's just something that was put there a long time ago. Dropdown is something that I use constantly. This ensures that you put data points in the field that you can then select from, removing the problem of data entry error. So back in the day when we started using custom properties 5-7 years ago, whatever that was, I remember we had problems where partners would come to us and say, look, it's great and all, but my problem is that I have a text field where I say patch on Monday, and if I make a typo, it doesn't set up patch, and then I forget and I don't notice. So we made you guys a drop-down field for that purpose. Finally, we have password type. Password is an encrypted field. You cannot visually see it once it's entered, but you can feed it to automation, scripting, things like that. So that's super cool as well. So primarily, these are our 5 types. For today's, we're going to focus mostly on the drop-down and the text, because those are the 2 most heavily used type of custom property, but it's really what I would usually focus on anyways, as far as how I would use it. So here you can see I have already a bunch of them created for a variety of different purposes, and the way that they work is pretty straightforward. Once you create them, I'll come back to creation a little bit later, but if I have some already, the way you use them is pretty easy. You go into a device for a device level property. Under settings, custom properties, right here, you can see all of your fields. I can say, oh, this is a drop-down one. Great, click. The drop-down offers me what the options are. I choose what I want. You always have to remember to save. I've had many partners tell me, I changed this setting for everyone and it didn't save, and they took like hours setting them all up. They never hit save once. If you don't hit save every time you change something, well, it changed this, say save, go to the next one, change it, hit save, go to the next one, and so on. It will not save. So you have to hit save. It's silly, but it's how it works. So this is where you would see and edit the device level ones. When it comes to customer level properties, you would go to your customers, or if you're at the customer, you would go to the sites menu. You pick your customer, and right here, I don't care, I can see the custom properties. And similarly to what I had earlier, I can click and pick the drop-down value that I want, or if it's a text field, I can type whatever I want, and then I just gotta remember to hit save, just like earlier. So I can modify any custom properties like that. Now, more conveniently, I can go into devices and I can select multiple device and do custom properties right here. And what this allows me to do is I can say, I would like to change this, I don't know, let's say this patch day setting, change that to Tuesday and save, okay. This will change it for the selected devices. So this is allowing me to bulk change custom properties as I need to and as I will. This is what people do mostly day in, day out. Most people don't change properties that often. They usually would just, don't create that often. They would modify what they already have. So that's pretty important to note and look at. When you create properties, if we look at that now, so if you're gonna have to make a new one for whatever reason, you would go to add, and you can do a customer or a device level one. Let's do a device level one first. I will do a text type, and I will call this property something for some key for some software, whatever the case is. Again, I don't care. I'm just putting something in. I always like to have a default value. I don't like to leave the default blank, so I would put no value or not set or something like that, just so that I know that intentionally there is supposed to be that. What it does for me is I can then filter and say, show me anybody that doesn't have a value, so I can do a filter for that. If it's blank, it's a lot harder because I can't say show me blank. So I like to put a default value personally. Next, it says, who do I create the custom property for? If I pick all OSs, it will be all devices, duh. But I prefer to do it by class. So if I'm doing some software key, would likely be laptops, maybe servers. So I could go here and say servers, and finally workstations, let's say. Keep in mind, I'm gonna save this, and that's gonna save itself, obviously. This will take anywhere from 1 to 5 seconds for me. I don't have many devices. It's a small server in my lab, so that's easy. But if I have 5, 10, 20,000 devices, this would obviously take a little bit longer. So definitely be mindful of that. So having done that, if I do now look at a customer level 1, just for difference, again, it's the same thing depending on the type, but I'm going to do a drop down just to show the difference. I will call it here some service level 1, I guess. Okay. And I'm going to add the different values. So you put multiple values, you have to choose a default. So the default might be not set again or whatever. Then I can say is my bronze plan, and I have silver and gold and super duper fancy, right? You can have as many of those as you want. Doesn't matter. This is not something that's billable, so we don't care. You put as many as you want. You have fun. It's great. Then you choose which customers you would like that to be applied to. So similar to what we did for the devices, you have to choose which customers will have the fields created against them. So if I select everyone, every customer and site will have a value created with not set by default, and then I can change it. This is most of the time what I would recommend to do. Even if you plan not to use it for some customers, I would still recommend to create it. At least that way it's there. If you ever need it, you don't have to worry about it, right? So this is the way that I would go about doing that, is just select everyone. Then you have your propagation example. So you have to decide how do you want to propagate your custom properties. So you have the option to not propagate. This means that if I create a new site or a new customer, this box would not be checked and I would have to come and do it manually. If I choose propagate to everything, new customers and sites, any new customer or any new site I create to an existing customer would already automatically get selected. That's great. Then new customers only means if I add a new site, it would not get that box checked. But if I had a new customer, it would have that box checked. And finally, this one is if I had a new customer, they will not auto check the box. But if I had a new site to an existing customer that's already selected, it will already add that checkbox. So this is just a configuration option. I would recommend 9 times out of 10 to always see propagate to everything. It also explains what I said here, so you have the option to decide what you want to do. And I hit save, and then that saves here. Now I already have a ton of different ones. I'm not going to save this, but this is just for the purpose of looking at it. So now we're at the point where we know how to create custom properties. Again, it's not very complicated. That's why I'm not spending hours on this. You also have the ability to modify the property. Like I showed you, you go to the customers here, or I can dig into a customer. So if I dig into, let's say, Marky Mark, and I go to the sites, and I go into a site here, custom property, I can see all the properties and set them as well. Keep in mind, again, if I change something for the customer, so if I go into here and I pick Marky Mark and I change the value for Marky Mark, it will not change the sites underneath it by default. You still have to go and do that. This is intentional because we've had looked at the ability to do that before. When we looked at it, we've had a lot of partners say that's going to break everything. You have to be careful. So we chose not to do that. So that is a limitation today, but that's something just to be aware of. All right, let me see so I don't forget anything. There we go. The next key thing is let's talk a little bit about using it with automation. So if I want to use it with automation, I can use it as inputs or outputs from scripts. So very simple use case. Let's say I go to actually, let's say I take I'll make a new one just to show you guys. So I'll do custom property, add, and I'll do a device level text and BitLocker key. Sorry, it's spring here in Canada. My allergies are kicking in. This is great. 23:04:18 p.m. because this is the afternoon, and no value is the default. Then I only want to use that for workstations and laptops because typically this is the only place where you would have BitLocker anyway. So I'm gonna set it for these two only and save. Now, if I look here, I do see my BitLocker key that I created. This is great. It's at a device level. It's a text field. This is easy. if I go to my device, right, I can see that this is set to no value, obviously. So if I want to use that in the context of a script, what I can do is I can say run automation policy from wherever I want, from here, from selecting it and saying add a task, run a policy, and so on. There's all the different places. If we want to keep it very simple, I'll come here and I'll say get BitLocker keys and key found, export that to my custom property. So the system shows you here, there's outputs. Every output I can output to a custom property. So when you make an automation policy, you have the option to create outputs. And when you make these outputs, they will then be available to be outputted to custom properties. If I was to have inputs, which I'll show later, I could also feed that input to a custom property to do something, to an automation policy. Like I could say, here's my install key, go install something. All of this is done through here. Then who do you want to target? My laptop, and great. In this case, it's easy. It just takes 2 seconds. So I'll give it a minute or so to run. So while this is running, what's going to happen is the property, the script's going to run. The output is captured. The output is mapped to that property. So during that 45 seconds, minute, it's going to take maybe not even, might already be done. It's already done. My BitLocker key was now saved. Yay! That's great. So the system just stored that for me, and I'm in good shape. That was easy. So this is allowing me to capture that BitLocker key. Now, just in the interest of what I want to show next, I'm going to set it to no value again and say save. So I see that I can run a script and output it. It worked. It was great. But what if I want to dynamically do that in the case that a device does not have a value set like this? If it says no value, it would go and capture it. So this is something that I could do to say any new device that I find, go and run this script. So the way I would do this is say use a task profile. So if you're not familiar, in N Central, we have the concept of tasks versus task profiles. Task profiles are collections of tasks that you can run through a rule. That means that they're dynamic. Doing a regular task, even though I can say run on all laptops every day, it will run on all laptops every day that are there today. Even in 3 months, it will not look at new devices. That's what the rules do. The tasks don't. Tasks are static. As soon as I make a task here and I assign it to all laptops, it will be all laptops found today only. Whereas a profile, because I put it through a rule, it will find any new laptops and auto add. So to do that, I would come here and say TP get BitLocker keys, and then I'll put the date just so I know which one it is, 23/04/18 p.m. So this is my task profile. I'm going to say add policy and TP get BitLocker keys 23/04/18 p.m. You'll notice I put TP, that's for task profile. That's just my little OCD. I like to name things so I know what they are when I look at the assignment. For me, it's easier. You don't have to do that. That's just a me thing. And then I'm going to say get BitLocker keys and key number 1, which is always the one, output to that property. So at this point, I have a task that I can then save and say run. Now I'm setting it to run once only. So it would only run once to capture the keys. This might be one of those where you want to do it like weekly or whatever. There's different options, but for the purpose of this, I'm just saying do it once, that's it, done, move on. So if I save this and I save the profile again, I now have my BitLocker key that I just did for the afternoon. Again, I did it this morning too, so obviously. But what this is giving me the ability to do, if I look here, this is giving me the ability to say, I'm going to run this based on a rule of my choice. But now, how do I target the devices I want that don't necessarily have the BitLocker keys found already? Is by using filters with the custom properties. So this is going to be the next concept that we want to touch on, because that's super important, is that I can come in here and say, I'll call it devices without BitLocker keys stored. And I'll put the date because I want to know this is the one from today, like that. All right. And then I can do organization, custom property, which one is equal to whatever or contains or whatever, or I can do device, custom device property, which one, this one, is equal to no value. All of these devices are found. So all of these devices would potentially be targeted by my custom property and my filter to be able to apply a rule, find whatever. And it's literally as simple as that. At that point, I can back away. I'm done. This is easy. I'm able to say now, for every device where the custom property so-and-so is equal to no value, which is this guy, go and run something, do whatever. Super easy. So I'm going to say save here. If I go to my all device view and I say, show me, where is it? Devices with no BitLocker key. This is everybody. You can see my laptop is in that list right now. So if I go and do a rule, right, that'll be the next step. So now that I have this filter that I can use, I can say make a rule. And I'm going to find my filter, which is right here. Super easy. Then I'm going to make a rule. So it'll be get BitLocker keys, and I'll put the date. Like that. Excellent. Then I'm going to say under my task profile, I'm going to find the one for PM, the one that I just did with you guys. Then I'm going to go to here and see which customers. In my case, because I know what I'm doing, I'll say every customer ever. That's fine. Typically, you would not do that by default. You might want to be careful. But for me, I don't care. I see that it will target everyone. So at this point, what I'm doing is I'm saying for everybody who does not have a BitLocker key based on the filter I made, run this script for every customer, right? So that makes sense. That's simple enough. Then I'm saying save. So this is going to go pretty quick. So while this is saved, what the system does, if I go to my device under monitoring and associations, you can tell here it already assigned the rules called get BitLocker keys, this, da, da, da. It's already running the, where is it? Is it already done? That was quick. It will, there it is. The PM, it's pending, so it's going to run in a minute. Well, it's probably already running or already done. And then when it does all that, it will capture the BitLocker keys and save them. So if I come back here, you'll notice my laptop is already gone from that filter. So what happens is that this is dynamic, right? So as the script run on my device, what it does, if I come back to associations now, this is still there for now. This is going to be disappearing in a second because as I go here, my BitLocker key is now set instead of no value, which means the rule is no longer assigned, which means that all of these will be now disassociated, and it will remove the task and the rule because I don't need it anymore. So the system can dynamically do all of these things for me. So you can use custom properties to trigger rules, automation, monitoring, service levels, apply specific templates with self-healing, all these things just with the way I said, because I can simply say if my custom property contains so-and-so, then do something. And you'll notice here, my device, my laptop is not in there anymore, right? So the system was smart enough to know, like, wait a second, I don't need this anymore. And it removed it. And now this is no longer associated. It captured my key and the profile is now removed from that device because I don't need it anymore. So this is where the custom properties really make a lot of sense, is that this is allowing me to go like way further than what I could have done any other way. So if I want to go down the rabbit hole a little bit, right? So I was able to say, I'm going to run automation and output it to a custom property. What if I want to do input? Well, same idea. I see, come here, add an automation policy. And let's take something with inputs. So I don't know, delete a folder. I can say what folder. I could come here to say this is the path to the file. So delete the folder in that path. If I have a custom property called that, I could say, let's say EDR, install EDR, or install a software, right? So install software with this. Here's the information about the device and so on. So all of these are allowing me to decide to say, okay, well, this one does not have anything, or do a custom property maintenance. I can say, use that as an input. So use my maintenance date as an input. And when the maintenance is done, come right back and update the exact same property. You can see here is the same name. So what I'm doing is I'm taking an input of a property, giving it the automation policy. The policy will run, will do whatever it's going to do. Once it's done, it will come right back and it will output that value back to that property. So I do this in this scenario where some people say, I want to run this script every day because sometimes it doesn't run, or it can't run because the machine's offline or whatever. So what we do is they run this every day, and the system says if it's been less than 15 days since that last date, just skip over yourself and output the old date. And if it's been more, then update it so that next time I don't run for another 15 days. Like there's all these weird little edge cases that you can do from here. It's just a matter of deciding what you're looking to do, and then we can configure and do it for you through custom properties. So now you can do inputs and outputs right from within here. So this is giving you a lot more flexibility. Once again, this is the whole idea of custom properties, right? Let me check if I'm not forgetting my list. So we talked about storing information, and I'm not getting any questions, so I'm going a little quick, which is completely fine. I'm able to store information. I'm able to do filters to apply levels, apply automation, apply templates. What I showed where I applied the rule to do automation, I can do that to apply templates, with self-healing versus no self-healing. Because I can say, if my customer is on my silver plan and I set the custom property as silver, only apply these templates. And if he's gold, don't apply these templates, apply these other templates with self-healing on, and maybe set up notifications for outside hours and set up something else and so on. And you can tweak and configure all of that as granularly as you want or as basic as you want. This is completely up to you. This is just something that you get to decide how you want the behavior to be, and then you adjust. So this is kind of neat. This is just allowing you to do all of that information in and out as you need. The next piece of this is where this gets a little weird, but this is actually one of the most useful thing with custom properties ever. So I've shown that at a couple of events recently, and people have been really scratching their head at first and then went like, oh, that makes sense. So I will do my best to go as slowly as I can. So I have two custom properties here, one at the device level and one at the org level, and you can tell this is the same thing. This is the patch day, right? So I have a patch day at the org level here that says the default is not set, and then I can say Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday is my patch day for those devices. So I can pick that at the customer level, or I can put them off if they don't want to do patching for some reason. So what I would do is I would go in here and I would say, I'm going to set Mark to be in here Tuesday. Easy enough, right? Then I can go into the site, customer, set the sites and everything to my liking. Once I've done that, what usually comes up from partners is when I discuss that with them is they say, well, yeah, I have these, 10 servers, but these two have to be done on a different day because I have two domain controllers. I can't reboot them at the same time, or two DNS servers, or two whatever servers that are important. I need to do one on Saturday, one on Sunday. How do I do that? I'm like, well, hold on. That's where we're going to go down that path is I have my org level, which will say by default, the customer will be Saturday. Easy enough. Once we've done the customer on Saturday by default, how do we do the device level to be Sunday? Well, we made a custom property for the device, for all of those devices, where I say the default value is use customer level, and this will come into play in a second. Then I have my same option, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and off. So what I'm doing is I'm making these two properties, the device level one and the customer level one, where I'm able to decide how do I want that configuration to be. So let's do the discussion about the use case. So if I come here, I'm going to use Notepad because it's easier to kind of draw a little bit. I'm going to say schedule one is do not patch. Right? So that's easy. There's nothing to do. You just say don't patch, done. Schedule two, everyone Monday at noon. So that's easy. That's the way that I would like to do it. Or maybe not everyone. We'll say schedule two will be Monday at noon, and then schedule three will be Tuesday at noon. So if I look at this, how do I make sure that if I want to do certain devices on Monday or the customer on Monday based on my config? Well, I have the ability to say, well, I want my customer property is equal to Monday 12, right? Or my device property equal to Monday 12. Well, what happens if my device property says Tuesday at noon? Well, it wouldn't know what to do with the two filters. It would apply both. So what I have to do, I have to say, I want my customer property to be Monday at 12 and device property is equal to use customer default. So basically what I'm telling the system in my filter, and I'll create it in a minute, is I'm going to tell the system if my customer property is equal to Monday at 12 and my device property is equal to default, then this means patch Monday. Or if my device property is set to override to Monday, then set it for Monday. And if I was to do the last schedule, that would be this one. That would be Tuesday at 12 and Tuesday at 12. So basically, if I have my customer level is set to Monday at 12, and then device A is equal to default, device B is equal to Tuesday at 12, what would happen, right? So what would happen here is this would be Monday at 12. And this one will be Tuesday at 12. And this is happening because the filters I'm going to create with these rules are going to tell me that, oh, the device is set to default and the customer is set to Monday. So we're going to apply this rule here and go to Monday, so Monday. But under the same customer where I say do Monday, this device was changed to Tuesday. So now this rule does apply because it's not a default, but the device property is set to Tuesday, so use Tuesday. I know this sounds very esoteric. It's a little weird. I completely get it, but bear with me. This is going to make sense. What I'm going to do now is go to my filters, and I'm going to say here, patch Monday 12, and then I'll put the date again. And then I'm going to come here and I'm going to say, I want to do my organization custom property called, we'll do the patch day here is equal to Monday at 12. Now, how do I start getting into those weird scenarios? I do advanced mode and I do custom. So I'm going to do A and B or C. You'll notice I put a bracket. So what I'm saying is I want both of these two, A and B, to be true. And if that's the case, then this works, or only C. So if I do that, I'm going to come here and I'm going to say custom device property, my patch day device override, right? This is what I called it, is equal to default, right? Or if my custom device property or patch day, oh, that's why it was a different name. Okay, sorry, I'm just gonna use the same one because my OCD will be triggered if I don't, like that, and is equal to the Monday at 12. So now I'm saying if A and B is met, right? So the device is set to customer level and the customer is set to Monday, then it's great. Or the device is set to Monday, then that's great as well. Now I'm finding my laptop because I did set my laptop to Monday at 12. So that is the way that this is going to work. If I now want to test it, I can go into here and my device is under the site and the site was set to Tuesday. So that's why it's not coming up because of that. But if I go into my device, I have set it to be Monday at 12. So if I come here now and I say, I want to do it on Wednesday instead of Monday and save, right? So I changed it on my device and I see preview again, it's gone. So if I was to do rules now with this, it will look at, I would have basically 3 rules, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Those are my examples, just whatever examples you want. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So if Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday is set, do so and so. If it's something else, do something else. And then it would apply the rules for patching the way I want. So you would need to create, 3 filters, obviously. You may have different filters for workstations and server, right? Because right now I'm doing that. And D or E. I made a typo somewhere, I think. What did I do wrong? Oh, I know. Yeah, that's what I did. I put a space too many. System's very particular. So what I'm saying here is I want these 2 or this one and one of these 2. And why I'm doing that is I'm going to say I only wanted to do this for the device class being a laptop or a workstation. So device class equals to workstation. So here would be a lap plus WKS. So now I'm able to do a filter that will say patch Monday for workstations and laptops only. I would do another filter for servers. So I would change that D or E just for D, and I would say device class is equal to servers, and I would call it servers. So I would basically have 6 filters in the end for my scenario. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, server versus workstation, and that's it. At that point, I'm able to choose the patch days that I want. So if I configure this, I come here, and I take my laptop, I say custom property. So I'll say that's these two. And I'm gonna say custom properties, my patch day is right here. And I'm gonna change that guy to Monday. So if I do my filter now, which earlier there was nobody anymore, let's take the one here, boom, my 2 devices are found. So I could apply that rule and do the automation and do whatever else I want. So I am able now to dynamically assign patching based on those times. So I know this is a little weird. This is a little unorthodox if you're not used to that logic of it, but this makes a lot of sense as you get used to it. Trust me, I've done this many times over the last year or so with partners, and once people get it, it totally makes sense. It's just a little weird to begin with, but now that I have done this, I'm able to basically patch as granularly as I want, because I could say this whole customer is on Monday, but I'm sorry, but this customer or this site or this device or whatever else, exception are on a different day or never or whatever. So you can have 1, 2 device, you can have 100, 1,000, 50,000, doesn't matter. All these devices can be granularly configured for patching or automation or scripting or whatever, maintenance. All of these things can be done through here. All right, so having said all that, we are at the point now where we're able to go through all of this. We're creating the properties, we're using them. The next step is, what if I want to import or output, export properties? This is something that has not been possible up until now in Central. What we have done, we're about to release this. We had a hackathon internally about a month and a half ago, and the nerds created this script, which is about 2,000 lines of code. It's a little bit long. And what it does, if I run this, it gives me a shiny little UI like that, where I'm able to feed it my my central server address and my API key. So nerdstraining.enable.com and my API key. And yes, it's partial, so you can't use that. Then when I do that, I come here and I'm going to say I would like to download a single property for 1 or more customers. Easy enough. It tells you what to do. It will say, where do you want to save this? I don't know. I'll save it on my desktop, test 3, doesn't matter. Yay. And then, which property do you want to do? I do not know. I'm going to go look. What if I want to get my BitLocker key that I just did? So, property name. Ooh, it's white. Sorry, this is, I hate when it does that. I'm just going to fix that. There we go. And just do it so that you guys can see it. If I want to do a specific customer, I could do the customer ID, right? So if I go to customers, I see the IDs here. But let's say right now I want to do all customers. I'm going to check the box for all customers and export. This is going to take a few seconds. It's telling me here what it's doing. It's getting the customers, it's getting the information, it's filling the arrays. It's going to take just a few seconds. There it is, it's done. And once it is, what it did, if I go to my desktop and I open up that file, it is giving me a dump of all my devices and that custom property here, including my laptop, where here's my key. Yay, that was easy. So the system is able to capture that, and we can see it right on this machine as well. So the system is capturing that information, and you can see some of them are set to no value and so on. I'm just using an example, but this is allowing you to do that. And some of them, the script ran, but there's no key because it's not encrypted, so it says nope. But it's able to do that for me. Devices where the property does not exist, it just returns blank, which is what it's intended to do. But the cool part in this is that this is a CSV. I can take this, I can change, oops, not the class, but I can change different values somewhere that I want. I can save that back. And the cool part is I can come here and say import back a single custom property. What is the file? This is the file. And say validate it. It verifies if the file is working. Yes, there's 52 rows. The validation is okay. Import. Now it goes through. It's doing that. It's going through and it's importing all the ones that it can. Anywhere where the property does not exist, it just gives you an error in the PowerShell output. and then it's telling you the import is completed. So let's go take a look. So which machine did I do? Server 2019 test Azure. Sure, why not? So if I go here now, I'll look for server 2019 Azure. There it is. Oh wait, that one doesn't have a custom property. So okay, I put it on server. So let's do it again on somewhere where it's gonna make sense. So I'm gonna use which one? Yeah, PE9317. Hello, this is me. No exclamation. There you go. And then if I go back to my little thingy and I say validate again, it's verifying, it's all good. Re-import is gonna re-import, it's gonna take, it's important. I can see on the other screen that it's running the PowerShell. Once it's done, this is gonna be, which file did I pick? So if I come here now and I did PE9317, so PE9317, this is the one. If I come here, go to custom property, you see here, hello, this is me was updated. So I am now able to download the property for all the devices, change something, re-upload it back. Keep in mind, if it's a drop down, it's gonna match the value. If you're uploading it for a device where the property does not exist, you get an error in PowerShell. So because it's PowerShell here, it says BitLocker key was not found on this device, obviously. Like on servers, I didn't put the property, so it says no thank you. But this is allowing me to download in bulk and modify and re-upload in bulk for a single property. I can also export a single customer level property. I can also import back a customer level property. So if I want to change plans in bulk or license keys and things like that. If I want to download all custom properties for a customer or all customers, I can come here and say test one, whatever, doesn't matter. And say all export. It's going to take just a few seconds. And once this is done exporting, this is pretty quick usually. It's almost done. There it is. This is giving me an Excel with basically a column for every BitLocker key. So this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and so on for all of these, for those devices. And then it's telling me the information about the customer site and everything. And it's just dumping all that into an Excel for me to use and play. If I download all of them, all properties at once, I cannot re-import dynamically. I don't have that feature because it's weird the way that the file works. But if I do a single property, I can re-upload those easily. I can do that right from here. This is currently in beta. I'm still finishing some testing and hardening on it. I am more than happy to send that to you if you have any intent of testing it. Just send me an email. I sent you guys all an email with to say, hey, don't forget the course. You are more than welcome to send me an email. It's like, Mark, I would love to test this. Please, even though it's not finished, please send it to me. I will gladly send you a link to the file. It's a PowerShell script. You can run it, play with it. I'm more than happy to. Give me your feedback, and I will gladly put it in. I always like to cover this when I do courses. There's little gotchas, little things that you should know that I feel that are important. I like to cover those because a lot of people don't necessarily know all these little gotchas. So that's what we're doing here. In the custom properties, if you set a custom property at the customer level and change the value at a customer level, it will not update the sites automatically. So, for example, I had my marquee mark customer and I had my location 1. Even if I change a marquee mark customer, it will not change the site to the same value. It does not trigger down. It just lets you set up for each level. If you want to do that, you would have to download the property like I did with the CSV, modify them all and re-upload it, or do it by hand, which kind of sucks. Next is that filters are dynamic. I showed that, I explained that, that's important. The reason that I mentioned it like that is that I've had people use custom properties to change something on the fly, right? Like apply monitoring, apply automation, patching days, things like that. And I've had people accidentally choose the wrong value in the custom property, and this applied a immediate reboot window to all servers. These are near immediate, so if you do the wrong thing, you may break stuff, so please be careful when you're doing that. The next one is making a custom property or adding a new custom property on a big server, right? 10,000 plus devices will take some time. It could take a minute or so, or sometimes almost 2. This is normal. This is part of the behavior. It's not ideal, but it's just the way it works right now because there's a lot of data to create. If you click on save and propagate, it will save it for every device and or customer site involved. So if I go here, what I mean by that is if I go and say, I would like to change my custom property. So I'm gonna go here and I go to my patch day, like I have for the device level. And I say like, oh, I'm gonna change something here, whatever, 1. If I say save, it's just gonna save the change, that's it. If I say save and propagate, it will propagate back the default to everyone. So for example, if I modify my BitLocker key 1 and I do propagate, it will remove the key from everybody and put the default text back. If I change a drop-down one, it will put a default value to drop-down. All of these will get overwritten. So please be very careful when you do that. If you do save and propagate, it will propagate. Very important. Next, if you create a custom property, always, always, always do it at the SO level, and always target all the devices of the same type. The reason why I say do it at the SO level is that I've had many cases where I've had partners say, oh, I needed a patch config property for this customer, so I made it at the customer level. And then I needed another property for another customer. I made it at the customer level again. And now he's like, yeah, I have 60 properties for 60 customers, and I have 60 filters times 3 for the 3 configs. So I have like 180 filters when he should have 3 property and 3 filters. That's it. And now he's overcomplicated this where it becomes unmanageable. So always assign the property to all the devices where it may apply, and always create all custom properties at the SO level. Always, always, always. Finally, always, always use the drop-down field when you can. A lot of people use the text field for everything. The text field, if you make a mistake, you may not like your life, because what might happen is that you may have a problem with typos. For example, if you see patch on Monday and you put MON for Monday, or Monday with a uppercase, lowercase, things like that, the filters may not apply, and then you're going to hate me, and you're going to say patch, that patch doesn't work, the filter doesn't work, whatever. But it's not that, it's just that this is the issue, right? So be careful with that. If you do have questions, feel free to reach out. If there's things you're not sure about, feel free to send me an email. I will do my best to answer everybody, and we'll go from there. So I think that's it. With that, guys, I will let you be. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you next course. Thanks, everyone.